Friends, this is Varun. Today I'm going to discuss about state missions in UiPath. State mission is a kind of automation which we have in UiPath. It consists of four states. One is init state, get transaction state, processing state, and final state. So each state will have entry. You can see here each state will have entry, exit, as well as transitions. So let me expand it. So if you see here, each state is having entry, exit, as well as transitions. Except except the final state. The final state will have only the entry point. So in initial state, we are initializing the application. So whenever robot runs from orchestrator, so it will trigger this state and it will start executing the code whatever we have written here. So initial state, basically we used to check the system errors, and we used to initialize all the applications. So whenever we run the robot, if you see here this sequence will get executed. So here it's checking the condition. It's like config is nothing, then this should get executed, or else we have else condition. Here nothing is there. So it's a kind of template which, yeah, your path is provided. We need to enhance this template based on our requirement. And if you can see, what they are doing is, this is called invoke workflow. So invoke workflow is a kind of reusable component, so we can call any workflow by using this activity. So let me open this workflow what they have written. So here what they're trying to do is, config is Excel sheet. Let me show you what exactly it is. If you go to project, so this is the project path, and here you can see the config file. So it consisting of three tabs. One is settings, constants, and assets. So these are the global level settings which we need to provide to UiPath in order to run the workflow. So UiPath recommend to use this Excel file and map to the workflow because for ease of maintainability. So tomorrow if you want to change anything, instead of going back to the workflow and changing all the items, so it's a kind of lot of maintenance. So in order to avoid such kind of things, so we need to provide all the attributes here. And if you see here settings, this is the orchestrator queue name. The queue name, I will explain you the queue later on this video. We need to provide the queue name, and here we need to provide credentials. If you want to use the credentials, we need to provide the credential asset here. And if you want to use any URLs, like if you want to open any website, or if you want to open uh, any kind of application, we need to mention those URLs here. And if you see the constants, these are the technical settings which UiPath already provided. So when you're working with the real time project, so you can change the settings as per your requirements. And if you see assets, so here if you want to create any asset, so these assets will be created in the orchestrator, and we need to provide this asset name here, and we can utilize this assets, or we can map this asset to the workflow file. So this is the config file, and let me open the workflow file. Yeah, so here basically it's this is, and let me open the variable pen. So basically this is 1 minute, it got stuck. Yeah, they have created the argument. You can see In this workflow, we have the direction. This is basically arguments. In means like we are getting the variable we use a data item from different file, and this is another data item which we are passing this data item to the different workflow file. So it's creating a new dictionary here, and what is doing, it's looping all the data. So all the data whatever we have in Excel file, if you see here, it's looping all the sheets. You can see here, once you click on here, it's like it is showing the out config which we created the argument, and here it's looping all the sheets from the Excel whatever we have in the config file, and then it's checking the condition if it is null or empty. Okay, if we are having any if it's checking the rows if it is null or empty, so we are adding the key value pair which we are adding the dictionary here if there is any empty. Okay, and then here we are basically what we are doing, you can see here we are loading the assets which we created in the uh, orchestrator. Here this is the activity we use to get the asset value from the orchestrator. Here we use this get asset value activity. Okay, that's it. So here basically we are initializing the things and grabbing the things, grabbing credentials and assets if we are queue names if we have created in orchestrator. And remember one thing, whenever we are creating workflows in a real time, we need to keep all these things in try catch for reliability, because we need to have exceptional handling techniques while running the workflow. So we, if we don't have, we may end up with some issues. So instead of avoiding such kind of issue, instead of getting such kind of issues, we need to provide all these uh, activities, all this workflow inside try catch block. So this is all about initialize settings, and basically it's we use this initialize all settings to initialize the applications, reading the config files and grabbing the asset values and the credentials. So such kind of things we do from initialize settings. And if you see here, so and later on once we initialize all the things, so here we have another workflow called kill all process. So basically it's logging the things. So this log message activity used to log the activities. The level of log is info here, so we can enhance these things based on your project requirement. Okay, so that's it about initialize settings. And here we have two transactions, one is success and one is system error. So success is nothing but, I mean, if you, whenever robot runs from orchestrator, if you everything got success, we don't get any issues, then this will trigger this state. So transaction is nothing but whenever we are joining one state another state. Here let's see here, and here you can see this transaction. So whenever here we can write the condition, so whenever the condition got satisfied, so this will trigger this activity. So here we have two transactions, one is success and one is system error. So system error basically it comes whenever we have, so basically in system error all the robots, the workflow is fine, but due to some system issues or maybe some network issues, so we used to get issues, we used to get some pop-up messages. So in order to avoid those things, we don't want to run the workflow because whenever the system error occurs, so we need to end the process. So then we need to we are injecting this thing to end process state. So end process state, you can see here. So basically here we log the details. If you see end process, what we are doing, we are just closing all the applications. Let me open. Okay, here we need to, for example, if you open notepad or word document and you want to close, we need to close, right? So whenever we want to end process, we need to close all the activities. So here we need to add all the close activities here, close related activities. So then it will close, then it will end the process. Let me go to main. So here you can see again everything is kept under try catch, and you can, if you notice, we have only entry point. As I said earlier, we don't need any exit and transitions here. Yeah, and yeah, so once if everything is fine, then it will go to get transaction state. So in get transaction state, you need to remember, you need to know two things. One is here in state mission, it's everything is based on jobs and queues. Uh, each transaction item is nothing but a field. Let's take, we have some ticket IDs. So each ticket ID we used to call as a transaction item, and the indexing, whatever we have indexed for this ticket IDs like 1 2 3 4 5, we used to call a transaction number. So we need to know this terminology before going, we need to before going to understand this get transaction data. So all these transaction items and transaction numbers will this transaction item will be in variable type of queue item, because in get transaction data, what we are doing is we are getting data from the data source, and we are storing or adding all the items to the queue, which is nothing but a transaction item. The And here what you can see, some activities like check stop signal. So this is basically related to orchestrator. Whenever we create job in orchestrator, and if you want to stop the job, if you want to kill the job, uh, then what activity should get performed. And if you want, if nothing, if you can see here, this is a boolean type, the result will be should stop. This is if they triggered kill button there, then this should stop will become true, or else it will be false. And then if nothing is triggered, then this activity get into place. Let me open this workflow. So what we are doing here, so basically we are what we are trying to do is we are get getting transaction item is nothing but like here again the arguments we are passing out transaction item, which we have arguments here. Yeah, this is the thing, it's going out. There's the type will be queue item variable type. And what we are doing, if transaction item is not nothing, I mean, so what we are doing is like we are exposing these transaction items to the queue. We have an activity called, let me show you, add, sorry, I need to go to activities and queue. Yeah, so this is the activity we need to use whenever we need to use for each loop of all the transaction item, and then we need to expose these items to the add queue. So this will be, so this queue we need to create in uh, orchestrator. And if you can see, when get transaction item, we need to provide the queue name, because all the items will sit at the queue. So this orchestrator queue name, which is coming from the config file, so basically it is in config is the excel file. which argument we have created, and we are grabbing that from Excel. So that's what we have. We need to use Excel, because tomorrow if you want to change this queue name, instead of coming back to the workflow and changing here, so if you are changed there, then it will get affected here. So, and then if transaction item is not nothing, so once we processed everything to the queue, if nothing is there, not nothing, I mean if it is not nothing, if something is there, not nothing is like, then what action we need to perform. So this basically is these are the, like, as I mentioned, it's a template. They have mentioned this as an activities, but if we need to do our activities based on the requirement. If it is nothing, because it is, then it will go to the else part. Maybe here we need to write one activity like transaction item is nothing, because we don't want, mm, uh, if transaction item is nothing, so then we don't want to, we need to stop the process, or we need to do some activity, or based on the requirement we need to um, uh, drag and drop the activities here and perform the action. Okay, so that's it. This is all about get transaction. And here we have again two um, transactions. One is new transaction, one is no data. So new transaction, so nothing but, so let's take, I have 10 transaction items. So whenever first item will go from this state to this state, that is like a new transaction. Once this is processed, the second queue item will be processed here. So if all the 10 items got processed, okay, then there will be no transaction items, right? So then it will, then we need to end the process. We don't need to do anything. So when we don't have any data, then again we are triggering the final state, which is like, we need to close all the applications. Okay, so process transaction is a state where we need to process based on the requirement. So once we are grabbing all the transaction items, so what we want to achieve, maybe you would like to you maybe you would like to use that transaction items to write to Excel and send out email for the business users. Might be that is your business requirement. So all your business requirement will be handled by process transaction. And there are again three transactions if you see here. One is rule exception, one is success, and one is error. So success, if everything is fine, then it will, if you go see, success means if system error is nothing, okay, and business exception is nothing. So this is the they have the condition, okay. It will go back to the get transaction date if everything is fine, okay, because if you got error while processing the transaction, then it should go back to the init state and read the config file again. And the business rule exception is which the business user has to give. Based on that, we need to create new business rule exception, and we need to write some logic. uh, So for an instance, let's take, if we are working on, if you want to automate a support ticketing system, there might be a scenario where uh, we don't the business users don't want to process some tickets which are assigned to which are wrongly assigned to the group, because we need some business approvers to process those tickets. So for such kind of scenarios, we would exclude those tickets. We need to loop those tickets, exclude them and loop those tickets, and route those tickets to for the business users via email, so that they can check and they can approve. So then we need to process again. So for now, the requirement is to stop processing those tickets. So this is the business exception where we need to write some condition to exclude those tickets which are wrongly assigned group. So that is an exception, right? So we need to write the logic for those things. So yeah, that's it. That is all about state mission automation in UiPath. So hope it is helpful for you guys. So in the next video, I'm going to explain some workflow which is based upon state mission, but it is not related to the queues. It's just related to the data row. So yeah, so that's it for now. So if you have any questions, please drop a comment. So I'm happy to help you guys. Thank you.